A fight scene in The Dark Knight Rises. Batman exhorts Catwoman to put away her weapon. No killing, he says. No guns. Sadly, in the Century 16 theater last night, life did not imitate that bit of art, and the midnight premiere of that film became a killing ground. Tonight, families are reeling. A young man is in custody, and police are trying to figure out how to disarm the suspect's apartment loaded with explosive booby traps.
July 20th, 2012, in Aurora, Colorado, the perpetrator comes into the theater and opens fire on innocent victims that were there. Sam, you were the commander at the time. You had a unique perspective in a unique role, in that you basically operationalized or stood up the fusion center, the intelligence center.
This time of year always brings back memories, and it's almost as if it happened yesterday. It's going to be a 13th anniversary. Hate to use that term anniversary, right? It almost kind of demeans the importance of the event. But yes, at the time I was a lieutenant, and I was detailed as the deputy director of our fusion center in Colorado, the Kayak. And of course, everything in government is an acronym. So it was Kayak is the Colorado Information Analysis Center. So the chief at the time, Dan Oates, worked with the state authorities and asked them to allow me to be the deputy director of the fusion center. So in July 2012, July 20th, a lot of us were either on duty or awakened by a telephone call, horrible telephone call that said there was just an active shooter at the Century 16 theater. This happened at 12:38 a.m. on the 20th. So this assailant, you talk about premeditation, had booby-trapped his apartment and set a stereo to go off at midnight with just obnoxious electronic music, very loud, and very disruptive. Why? To get the cops to come to his apartment for a noise complaint, and then, of course, trip one of the many tripwires that he had laid as in wait for the officers. The good news is it was a Thursday evening, pretty busy in Aurora, and a noise complaint was not the highest priority call that was on the screen. So a neighbor went up to the door to try to knock on the door and tell him to turn it down. The door was ajar, and something told her, don't push it, don't push the door. And she didn't. She saved not only her life, but probably everybody's life in that apartment building, because that was the tripwire, the first tripwire. The assailant attacked at roughly 30 minutes later at the theater. He had previously bought a ticket, so he arrives like everybody else for this midnight showing, but he arrives a little bit earlier, and he goes into the theater and then out the emergency exit door, which is at the front right, if you're facing the screen of the theater, the front right of the theater, and puts a little bracket on the door so that it doesn't close behind him. His car is parked right out there in a parking lot at the back end of the theater. There he dons basically tactical gear from head to foot, ballistic helmet, face mask, supposedly an APR, a gas mask, protective gear on arms, legs, chest, everything. Reemerges about 8 minutes into the movie's the start of the movie, tosses two. We'll just say gas grenades. They're kind of an irritant, but he tosses two of those and then begins to fire with a shotgun, then a 223 rifle, and then a 40 caliber handgun. He ends up shooting 76 rounds in a very, very, very short period of time. When the call came out, we had probably 126 officers on duty. And of course, nobody, from swing shift went home. Everybody was in their debrief ready to go. And call came out, and people obviously jumped back in their cars. And the theater was probably, as the crow flies, a mile from our headquarters station. So they were actually on the scene within 90 seconds. And this guy, probably at that point, he was done shooting, and he was already back at his car in the parking lot at the back. And what he was doing back there, I don't think we still know, because he had plenty of rounds still on him. He had thousands of rounds. But the officers probably made an arrest within 6 minutes of being on the scene and kind of sizing up what's going on, and, doing an assessment of the casualties and so on. So if you can imagine, I mean, when you're rushing into an active shooter situation, you want to be tactically sound, but you want to be precise and surgical in terms of focusing on the shooter. You want to stop the killing. And in those days, the focus was stop the killing and stop the bleeding. That's essentially still kind of the focus. Some of the tactics have maybe changed since then. But they made an arrest probably within 5 minutes, 6 minutes. And what always struck me about the arrest was the officer who made the arrest sees this guy in tactical gear. And probably he's thinking, well, SWAT can't be here that fast. I mean, it takes a while. Even in a large city, it takes a while. But what he noticed was the gas mask. It wasn't like the gas mask we wear. And so he was able to stop this guy and make an arrest. The watch commander was a newly promoted lieutenant on probation. Can you imagine facing this thing as a brand new lieutenant? And you have 126 officers on duty, rushing to or on the scene, and you still don't have enough officers to deal with something like this.
Yeah. When it was all said and done, there were 13 killed, including an unborn child, 70 injured, 58 people were directly the victims of gunfire.
Right. Of the 70, 58 were shot, and then another 12 hurt in the melee, right? The exodus. A couple of things happened that night that has continued to impress me, and that is the imagination or the critical decision making. With the watch commander, Jad Lanigan, and another lieutenant who was running the task force that night. There were issues and delays with EMS getting to the wounded, and these people were bleeding out. Many were eviscerated. It was just a horrible scene. Well, these two decided, throw them in police cars, get them to the hospital, to the tune of 21 or 22 folks who otherwise would have died, no question about it. One of our dispatchers, Sherry Klein, decided to get on the statewide radio system and call for help, and all hands call for help.
And just think of the chaos of if that bomb would have gone off at his apartment, just precipitating what was going to happen at the theater. You would have absolutely seen, okay, now you have an explosion in a residential building. Now you have, an ongoing active shooter.
The first call Chief Oates made was to our local FBI division. Why? Because we had that designated relationship, very strong relationship with JTTF, and that whole division emptied out and came to the scene.
We've been speaking via video with retired Deputy Commander of the Aurora Police Department, Sam McGhee, and in the studio we have Daniel Morgalo from the City of Miami Beach, the Assistant Police Chief. Gentlemen, we can't thank you enough. Behind the scenes, we have our producer, Rachel Brummage. Thank you to the Millers, Grant Michael Miller, the Miami's Community News team, and you, the audience. Thank you, and we look forward to speaking with you next time.